And China's ruling Communist Party has kicked off its 20th National Congress, a pivotal meeting of party leadership in Beijing.
Yeah, President Xi Jinping is expected to award himself a historic third term in office. Back in 2018, the Communist Party removed term limits for president, clearing the way for Xi Jinping to remain in power, not just for a third term, but for life. Christopher Johnson joins us now. He is the president and CEO of China Strategies Group. Christopher, thank you for joining us. How can President Xi use this week to further consolidate power within the party? It seems like he's got it.
He certainly does. But I'd say he has three main goals for the Congress this week. The first is to, as you mentioned, stay in power at least for the next 5 years and probably longer after that. That looks like a lead pipe cinch at this point, as you suggest. A second, of course, is to run the table in terms of personnel appointments and put his allies and lieutenants in critical positions that control all of the influential pieces of the Chinese Communist Party machinery. And the third is to aggrandize himself to a level that would put him only on par with Mao Zedong. And I think that's the area where he's hoping to use the Congress to get that one last piece that he hasn't had so far. And again, it looks like he's on track to do that.
And Christopher, I just wonder if we can look back, what stands out about how President Xi has shaped China since he came to power a decade ago?
Well, I think first and foremost, he's made the Chinese Communist Party, he's put them back in the front line of what happens in China. He would argue that he's made the Communist Party more unified, more resilient under his leadership, and that's probably true. Remember that only a few months before he came to power in 2012, there was a major scandal where a fellow Politburo member's wife thought it was an okay thing to murder a foreign citizen and try to cover it up. He felt that the military and the security services had become lax and very corrupt, and that maybe they wouldn't respond like as they did in 1989 in the Tiananmen crackdown. He would argue he has handled all of those problems, but there's been some negative consequences as well to that consolidation of power by him. One of them has been a much more state-led emphasis on the economy. In his speech this weekend to the Party Congress, he talked a lot about self-sufficiency for China in technology, self-sufficiency in energy, in supply chains, and in food security. And these, of course, are all things that the United States and other foreign countries have been sending to China as valuable exports for years. And then I would say his other sort of enduring legacy is this sort of more assertive presence of China on the world stage. Long gone are the calls from Deng Xiaoping, this last sort of great leader of China, that China should keep a low profile internationally. Instead, we see a China where Xi Jinping feels the country is already a great power and should be acting like one. And that's playing out in areas like the South China Sea, Taiwan, and even the relationship with the United States.
You mentioned President Xi's address to Congress there in China. In that same address, he praised the zero COVID strategy. This has been a shutdown strategy for parts of Shanghai. It's forced people to stay in their homes. If you can imagine how a Republican governor in America would respond to some of these policies, they're pretty extreme out there.
Yes.
And there was some rare political blowback. Does he face continued political blowback for those moves?
Well, it's been interesting. I assume you're referring to this very brave gentleman in Beijing who unfurled this banner last week, criticizing the COVID zero policy and also Xi Jinping personally. A bad look for Xi Jinping, right? Just before he's supposed to start this party Congress. We have seen signs, especially as you mentioned, the lockdown in Shanghai, which went on for well more than a month, of boiling frustration from people. But what we haven't seen is organized protests, not only in any specific jurisdiction in China, but more importantly, across the country. That's really what causes the leadership to get concerned, is when you see cross-provincial protests, and we're not seeing that. It's also important to remember sometimes we lose sight in the West of how effective their propaganda system can be in terms of messaging, and their message that they put life first and the people first has been very effective with the Chinese population. I think the key question is the impact, the very severe impact the COVID zero policy is having on the economy. That's really starting to bite for people and increase that frustration. So that's something to watch.
Another thing when it comes to messaging that I think the eyes and ears of the world were closely paying attention to is what he would say about the intention to reunify Taiwan. He did not rule out the use of force. Do you think this represents a step further into the possibility of actually sending troops in the near future?
Well, he did not mention that in the previous Party Congress report in 2017, this idea of refusing to promise not to renounce the use of force. That said, he made it conditional in the words that followed that basically said that threat of potential military force toward Taiwan, that is dependent upon whether external forces, as he called it, meaning the United States, to continue to interfere in Taiwan and or actions by the authorities on Taiwan that make moves toward Taiwan independence. So in my view, what he was signaling is that, at least from his point of view, and therefore the leadership's point of view, they still see a potential conflict with Taiwan as a crisis to be avoided rather than an opportunity to be seized.
And who knows how that actions from outsiders, mainly the U.S., how he'll define that. I mean, if you look at what Putin uses to argue for Ukraine, I mean, it's really nil.
Yeah.
Well, Christopher Johnson, thank you so much.
My pleasure.